What's up, guys and babes? Adam here, aka Anti-Cena Guy, coming at you with your WWE Night of Champions 2026 review. Overall, a pretty good show, everybody. I was actually amazed. How I feel about the ending of the triple threat match for the main event, I'll get to in just a moment. But overall, it felt like every star tonight put in a lot of effort into their matches. You know, even the mid-carders, same mid-carders, you've got a US Championship match. You know, Trick Williams and Ricky Saints, call them mid-carders. I know one of them's holding the United States Championship, but the belt seems irrelevant these days. That's just my honest opinion. You know, but there you have it. There's a bit of buzzing in the background, everyone, because I've got the fan on, and my hay fever's fucking playing on because of this fucking heat wave we've got right here in the UK, so it's kind of tough, but I'll do my best. Okay, let's get on with this review. In the first match, Femi defeated Jey Uso to become the King of the Ring, and he will decide which championship match he'll take part in at SummerSlam. I'm glad Femi won. You know, I would have been so fucking pissed off if Jey Uso would have won this. I've said it from time and time again, everybody. I am not the biggest Jey Uso fan. You know, he does okay in the tag team divisions with his brother Jimmy, but as a main eventer, I think he just falls flat. You know. So, it's like that time when he won the world title at WrestleMania when he made Gunther tap out. It was a bullshit moment. You know what I mean? It wasn't convincing, and for a wrestler like Gunther to fucking tap out to Jey Uso, you know, in a poor sleeper hold, it was not convincing, and it was a very shit moment. You know, even when he won the Royal Rumble, I was like, really? Jey Uso wins the Royal Rumble? Really? I would have been more happy if Cena would have won the Royal Rumble, and that's saying a lot. Pretty desperate when I'm cheering for John Cena to win a Royal Rumble, you know, when I don't want him to, because I don't want him to tie the record with my all-time favourite superstar, Stone Cold Steve Austin. But when I'm rooting for Cena, it's usually really pretty desperate. You know what I mean? But there you have it. Femi was much more stronger, faster. He makes Jey Uso look like a fucking shrimp. You know what I mean? There was rumours going around saying that Brock Lesnar was going to screw Femi. He was going to come out, give him an F5, screw Femi, and that would set them up a match at SummerSlam, but that wasn't the case. I actually thought Brock Lesnar was going to interfere in this match and cost Femi the King of the Ring Championship title opportunity, and then Jey Uso was going to win, but no, that has not happened, and it looks as though we're not going to see Femi and Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. So I don't know what they're going to do in that department. But Femi defeated Jey Uso. The match itself was a fine match. It was basically Femi beating Jey Uso the whole time, you know. But you kind of expect that when you got the size of someone like Femi and you find someone like Jey Uso. Really glad Femi picked up the victory over Jey Uso. So he wins the King of the Ring tournament finals, and we still yet need to know which champion he's going to face at SummerSlam. It was like an 8-minute long match. Match itself was just okay, but I'm glad the right guy won. The second match, Io Sky defeated Liv Morgan to become the Queen of the Ring. Before that, we had a little segment with Danhausen and Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan says to Danhausen that they owe the Judgment Day a lot of money. She slaps Danhausen. You know, then Danhausen says, "You're cursed," and all that old bollocks, you know what I mean? And indeed, that was the case, because Io Sky defeated Liv Morgan, and it was a good match between both women. You know, obviously they had jumpsuits on, you know, because it's Saudi Arabia, you know what I mean? So the women have got to be covered up, and Liv Morgan was wearing like this black skeleton fucking outfit. why Io Sky was like all like in this fancy colour, something you'd see in the 80s, you know what I mean? Particularly her boots, you know. But it was a good match. Io Sky never fails to impress me, and I like Liv Morgan also. I like both women. It kind of makes sense that Io Sky was going to win the Queen of the Ring tournament because Liv Morgan's the champ, you know, and if she would have won, that means she would have gone on to SummerSlam to fight for the WWE Women's Championship also, so that would make her a double champion. And I wouldn't have liked that. I wouldn't have liked that because some of these championships now they're taken for granted, and it seems like everyone's winning them, mixing them, and all that kind of stuff. So, with Liv Morgan being the champion, I'm kind of glad that Io Sky won the Queen of the Ring. And at the end of the match, she said she's going to face again at SummerSlam for the Women's Championship. It will be a great match to see. You know, looking forward to that match. I talk about a great match. What came up next? Seth Rollins defeated Bron Breakker in a steel cage match, and this was a great steel cage match. It had everything a steel cage match should be. We had weapons, we had blood, you know, blood in this match. They start off when they do their entrances. Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker were getting weapons from underneath the rings, like tables, steel chairs, kendo sticks, trash cans, and I was tossing them all in the ring before the match started, and they used most of these weapons during the match. In this match we had kendo sticks, we had chair shots. What was unbelievable is that Bron Breakker was suplexed off the top of the cage and went through a table, and this caused him to be busted open by the eye area. You know what I mean? He was all bloody. But what was great was the chemistry between these two. I mean, they were cussing at each other, swearing at each other. Seth Rollins was like, be a man and see what kind of a man you are in the steel cage. And Bron Breakker's like, you're an old man, you don't know when to quit, and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't mind who won this match because I like Bron Breakker and I like Seth Rollins. I really wish that Bron Breakker was used differently though. If Bron Breakker would have won this match, it would have been a great little win for Seth Rollins. I mean, no, if Bron Breakker would have won this match, it would have been a good, you know, step forward for Bron Breakker. Because at the end of the match, Seth Rollins is on top of the cage, and Michael Cole says now that his feud's ended, he can now move on to whatever he wants to do. But did Seth Rollins really need a victory over Bron Breakker in a steel cage match? I mean, it would have been nicer if Bron Breakker would have won, you know, because I think he deserves a victory of some sort, you know. It just seems like he's losing a lot of matches lately, and he's a future star according to Michael Cole, which he did during the announcing, you know what I mean. But it was a great steel cage match. Blood, weapons. Bron Breakker went for a spear. Seth Rollins moved and he went through a table, you know, and it ended with Seth Rollins doing a curb stomp off the top turnbuckle right onto Bron Breakker, and he got the victory. It's a great steel cage match. So we get 3 matches in a row. Great matches. I mean, I just would have been a little bit happy if Bron Breakker would have won, but I still like Seth Rollins. So nothing too meh, if you know what I mean. I mean, it was an overall good match. But after that we get to, I don't like to call them piss break matches because it's kind of disrespectful, but we get Trick Williams, who defeated Ricky Saints by pinfall to retain the United States Championship. And it was like over a 10-minute match. I mean, I don't know nothing about Trick Williams, I don't know nothing about Ricky Saints. I know Trick Williams is the United States Champion and he's got a little Yachi in his corner. There was a little scene at ringside, you know, where the referee thought he used a kendo stick on him as a weapon. The match itself was okay, but I'd have to say it was the poorest match of the night. You know, and these are rising stars according to Michael Cole. They're saying these stars are the future of this fucking business, and you know, and they're not really pulling off anything amazing or impressive. I mean, I know it's a US title match, people are going to hype the shit out of this match, but I'm not going to lie, it wasn't a good match, you know. After the steel cage match, I went in the kitchen to make a drink for me and my friends. My friends were in the living room watching this match, and while I was in the kitchen, I was waiting for the kettle to boil to make coffee. And by the time I got back, there was like only 5 minutes left of the match, and nothing really impressive happened. And then Lily actually does a really shitty version of the people's elbow, you know, where he goes, you know, walks into the ropes and does an elbow drop. Pretty stupid, pretty insulting, really, to a great wrestler like The Rock, you know what I mean? So, definitely the poorest match of the night, this United States Championship match. But after that, we get Tiffany Stratton, who defeated Jade Cargill by pinfall to retain the Women's Championship match. And this was better than the guys' US Championship match. It really was, because I mean, I like Tiffany Stratton. Jade Cargill, I don't know how to feel about her, but Tiffany Stratton come out all wearing pink like she was some sort of fucking butterfly, you know what I mean? Like pink leather. Jade Cargill, I like her wrestling ability, and she's very strong, but I don't know what direction we're going to take with her in WWE. She shows some kind of strength. Tiffany did some flips off the ropes and off the turnbuckle. We had some outside interference. Charlotte Flair cost Jade Cargill the championship by hitting him with the title. And there was also what's her name? I'll remember her name in a minute, but Charlotte Flair was out ringside, and she hit her with the US title to cost her the match. And we had Chelsea Green, who was hiding underneath the ring, and she helped with Tiffany Stratton with a victory celebration. So those outside interferences, you know, there was, I don't know who the other two women were, I've never heard of them, but it was a fine match, just a fine match, so no complaints from that point of view. And in the main event, Sami Zayn defeated Cody Rhodes and Gunther in a triple threat match to become the new undisputed WWE champion. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed this match. Great wrestling from all three men. I know in the past I've ranted about Sami Zayn, you know, saying like he's boring, he hasn't got no character or anything like that. But they mentioned some pretty interesting facts during this match. That Sami Zayn's been in the company for like over 10 years. You know, this is like his 10th title shot. I mean, he's been loyal to the company, he's stuck with them, and I really enjoyed that unsanctioned match he had with Kevin Owens. I'm not gonna lie, I was sick of him when he was like the US champion, you know, I just did not care for it. But in this match, Sami Zayn showed some great wrestling. And it even showed some scenes where he can take a bit of an ass whooping. Because there was a scene where he went through a table, taking chops from Gunther. Him winning the WWE Championship by defeating Cody Rhodes with a roll-up pin, I'm going to say, okay, I'll give Sami Zayn a chance. You know, that's all I'm going to say. I mean, Gunther was my favourite wrestler out of the three. I would have been even more over the moon if Gunther would have walked out as a champion tonight, but that wasn't the case. I'm glad he didn't get pinned. Cody Rhodes was the one who got pinned by Sami Zayn, and I was not expecting Sami Zayn to be the champion. I mean, it kind of makes sense because this is like his 10th attempt, and he came out in Saudi Arabia as like the hometown hero because he was like Muslim. He came out dressed in the Arab outfit, and he was kind of one of the favourite. You know what I mean? I mean, it was a great triple threat match. There was loads of false finishes. There was good wrestling from all three opponents. I will admit that. I would have been happy if Gunther would have won because he's my favourite wrestler today in WWE. But Sami Zayn, I was not expecting it. I actually thought Sami Zayn was the one that I was going to get pinned. You know. But what I'm going to say is, I know I've ranted on Sami Zayn in the past, and I know I've put the guy down. But lately, he has been impressing me a little bit. Him winning the main belt, I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I would have been happy if Sami Zayn like had some sort of character, not having the Jesus Christ look-alike with the beard and the hair and all that kind of stuff. I wish he had like more of like a gimmick. But putting the main belt on him, well, this goes to show if Jey Uso can hold the title, anyone can. But you know what I mean. It was a good match. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed the pay-per-view overall. One match was just Trick Williams and Ricky Saints was a bit off for me. The rest were great matches, and the main event was a great match too. You know, I'm not going to admit it. Some great wrestling by all three men. Sami Zayn, I was not expecting it, but I'm prepared to give the guy a chance. You know, he could prove me wrong. He could end up being a really great champion, but there's something telling me that his title reign is going to be very short, because Obafemi is going to choose Sami Zayn for the WWE Championship. That's what I generally think. For Obafemi to choose Roman Reigns for the world title, that is what you call a mega WrestleMania main event. And I don't think they're going to give us that just yet, so who knows. So yeah, I'm going to give Sami Zayn a chance. You know, I think everyone else should. I know people have gone on Facebook and Twitter ranting, saying he's a boring guy and he's a fluke and all that kind of thing, but how do you know if you don't give a guy a chance? You know, so I'm prepared to give Cody Rhodes Sami Zayn a chance, despite all the things I've said about him in the past. Okay, so that's your overall Night of Champions review, everybody. Pretty darn good show. I'd have to say my favourite match was the Steel Cage. All the rest of the matches were good, but we get one mediocre, not so good match with Trick Williams and Ricky Saints, but overall everything else was really good. Pretty good show, good wrestling. That's Night of Champions 2026, everybody. So yeah, please, what did you think about it? I'd like to hear your comments and thoughts, everybody. Leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching this, everybody, and we'll see where we go from here. Thanks, everyone. Peace out.